Welcome to the autosportradio.com 2021 show. We are still at the Grand King Race Shops at 8155 Crawfordsville Road in Indianapolis. If you get a chance when they open, you got to come down there. It's a working museum. You'll love it. Today's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, the SVRA, McGilvery's Pub and Eatery and Speedway, and VP Insurance. Our computer guy, the A+ Affordable Computer Doctor, has an office. It's located at 549 Fleming Street, which is right on West Washington, but it's right off of Washington. I guess you can see it from there, but they give them a Fleming Street address, 549 Fleming. You have a problem, give them a call. It can give you a hand. And if necessary, you can make a house call. His number is 317-328-0766. The man can handle it, give him a call. You hate to go to a dentist? Well, I'll make sure that you love it from now on. You got to go to the Indy Dental Group, see Indy 500 veteran Dr. Jack Miller and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis. They have a spectacular practice, and you'll love the technicians they have. The next appointment for a dentist, call them. The number is 317-846-6125. And the Vice President of PR for the SVRA, Mark Dill, has written a book. It's called The Legend of the First Super Speedway, The Battle for the Soul of American Auto Racing. I'm almost finished with the book. It is spectacular. So get yourself a copy. It's available anywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Kmart. If they got a book department, they got it. So check it out. The Legend of the First Super Speedway. And just released Paul Page's book, Hello, I'm Paul Page. It's Race Day in Indianapolis. It's now out. If you pre-ordered on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, get yourself a copy. And when you go out to the Speedway, get Paul to sign it. It's called Hello, I'm Paul Page. It's Race Day in Indianapolis. And if it's time to renew your insurance on your home, your car, or your commercial property, I highly recommend, as most of us do, VP Insurance, located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Mike Pardee will help you, and you'll find you get better coverage for less money. I found that out, as most of us have. So give him a call, tell him what you need. He'll help you out. The number is 317-248-0070. You ever wonder why these guys and gals love driving Indy cars, open wheel cars? Oh, it's hard. Well, why don't you take a ride in the Indy Racing Experience 2-seater and find out for yourself what it's like? You can go to IndyRacingExperience.com and find a date that'll work for you where they're running. And in the promo box, put DK1, you get a 50% discount, or call Shonda at the office. The number is 317-243-7171. Are you a Trans Am fan? Well, it's back up and running, and it's doing very well. Or if you're a vintage car fan, you can sometimes do both at once. The SVRA has it. And while you're there, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to Speed Tour Magazine, top class. And when you're on the website, svra.com, click on the schedule, see where they're running. And I highly recommend, if you can get there, go. It's worth it. Are you interested in a vintage car? Do you have one that needs to be restored? The Grand King shop can help you on both ends. Give them a call, tell them what you got or what you're looking for, and they'll help you. Number is 317-820-3595. Call that number and see if you want to take a tour when you can do it. They'll help you out. My guest today, I'm very pleased to have, is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Penske Entertainment, Mr. Mark Miles. And Mark, I got to think, when Roger took over stewardship of the Speedway and INDYCAR and IMS Productions, something like happened in 2020 never crossed your mind.
Oh, no. Well, who was clairvoyant enough to imagine that coming, the pandemic? Roger wasn't, we weren't. But the good news is, really, we never looked back, and he didn't either. And so we made the best of a challenging situation, and kudos to him because of his sustained commitment, as he would say. Kept the foot on the throttle and continued to invest another $17 million or so in the facility last year. Did things to help the teams and did things to help our promoters. And ultimately we got through the year with 14 races. And I think all of our team, the employees here, my associates, were tremendous. They were so flexible and resilient, and they wouldn't get down. All kinds of extra work. I think for some people, they probably stayed home with their shorts, under their sport coats on Zoom calls. But our people came in starting in June after sitting out at the end of March. And, it's probably multiple in terms of how much work had to be done because we had to plan for all these completely new scenarios. So, yeah, I know that it was a very challenging year, but in a way it prepared us for this year as well.
Well, the thing that impresses me is because I've been asked, what are they doing? I said, they don't know. So, sure as heck, I don't know. But the telltale to me right now is new teams are coming in, new teams are looking to come in, new sponsors are looking. I mean, the series hasn't fallen off the cliff. The series is there. People are aware of it, although they didn't have many in-house to watch. But the word is out because new things are happening. New sponsors and new teams are coming in. So that's got to speak huge for what's been going on in a tough situation.
Yeah. Once everybody understood there was a pandemic and literally, we were all shut in at home, and nobody thought vaccinations could be developed this quickly. Who would have known what 2021 would look like? You would have had much more probably pessimistic forecast than where we find ourselves right now. So that's all good. The series is not only not going backwards, it's absolutely growing and going forward by essentially every measure. You mentioned some. We've got the team stayed healthy and stayed involved, and we've got more cars, 23 to 25 most IndyCar Series races. We've got 36 or so for the 500. They're adding sponsors, and they're competitive as they can be. And then, we continued to invest here at the Speedway. We added sponsors. Looks really good for the rest of this year, and there'll be even more growth that's under contract for next year. And we added television audience. If you take out the 500, virtually every big event in the country was down, and the Speedway was not. The 500 was not immune to that. But if you take out the Speedway, the series grew by a couple percent at a time when most other sports were headed south. So, a small growth is a victory. And, we just couldn't feel better about not just the direction, but the actual progress.
Well, it was announced today that Andretti Autosport has re-signed Stefan Wilson, who is coming in, and he's got a new sponsor coming through from, I think, the LPGA, some affiliate with the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association. So that's another car. And there should be I'm thinking about 38 will be there. So that means bumping will start, and that will be exciting.
Yeah, and 38 might be a little long as a guess, but there's certainly going to be bumping, and we're really excited about it.
How is the health of the series? Now, you had mentioned that the new sponsors coming in. Are you speaking of the series acquiring some new sponsors this year and going into next year?
Yes. Every one of the entitlements that we have available at IMS is done. I'm going to be careful because I can't remember whether they've all been announced, but whether you're talking about the Grand Prix coming up in a couple of weeks, qualifying, Carb Day, the race itself, the 500, or the Xfinity race, the Grand Prix, the IndyCar race, Brickyard Weekend, and the Cup race. We've got terrific sponsors for all of our events here, and the series is adding sponsorship as well. So it's all good.
And when you think about it, as you have mentioned, most of the other major sports have suffered and have gone backwards. They have lost attendance, lost viewership, and so forth. But IndyCar seems to be holding their own and advancing, as you said. So I got to think that all the effort that you and your staff have put together is paying off. It's working, and the word is out. IndyCar is a place to be. Yeah,
well, thanks. It starts with it's a great sport, and we've said this every time I've been on your show and a lot in between. But we love the racing. We love the competitiveness. We love the drivers. It really is a drivers competition. And that's bringing us new drivers. How about the three rookies? I don't know all your other guests so far, so I don't want to be repetitive, but to have Johnson and Grosjean and McLaughlin as rookies is just sensational. And they bring a lot of eyeballs, a lot of fans with them. So I think we're pretty much hitting on all cylinders.
I thought the most impressive thing to me was when at the test at Barber, when Romain Grosjean was his first time on a racetrack with an IndyCar, and he looped the car in like turn 2 or 3 or something. And when they asked him about it, he said, I discovered right then and there that you have to drive an IndyCar. He said, in Formula One, there's so much downforce, you turn it, and he's got power steering to help him. So these cars with a big smile on his face, he said, you got to drive them.
You know, that's exactly right. There was another example of that sort of thing with Jimmy Johnson. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal of all places where he talks openly and candidly about the physical differences between Cup cars and IndyCar. And he focuses on how, you know, they weigh 3,000 pounds and ours are 1,500. I'm rounding. And they have power steering and we don't. And we have G-forces off the charts compared to what they have to deal with for the most part at NASCAR. And so he went into some detail about how the workout is different on forearm strength, hand strength, grip, the core to persevere with the G-forces for a long period of time. It was really cool. This guy's 7-time champion and had done it all in NASCAR. And he comes in and he reflects a real respect for IndyCar drivers and racing and gets into detail about what it takes to be competitive. So I think it's those guys are bringing a lot when they join the series.
Well, there's no question they're going to bring eyeballs for sure. And I got to think that NBC has got to be happy. Things are, I'm sure, like everybody would like to see him jump 10% in viewership at a time, but it's moving forward. And I know, unfortunately, the contract expires, and I trust you're hard at work to extend that. And I certainly hope you do, because I like what they're doing. I like the Peacock. I think that's great. Last year we had the NBC Gold and you got 17 races for whatever it was it cost. Well, now it's essentially the same amount of money, but when there's not a race, there's 10,000 other things to see. So it's a good thing to sign up for, and you get to watch all of the good. And the broadcast team is doing the Peacock practice and qualifying, which I think is superb.
Yeah, no, they've been a great partner, and we'll I hope, have announcements about our future broadcast partners, in this summer, maybe June. But I think they've done a great job. They promote it. I love the commentators. I love their passion for it. And by the way, we were up a little bit at Barber, but St. Pete was up 80%, and that's network to network. So huge increase, very, very strong result. And I haven't seen the numbers yet from Texas, but that'll be on cable, so it'll be a different order of magnitude. But no, I think they're a great partner, and now everybody, including our shop and theirs, is very focused on May.
Well, something that's always impressed me, and I impress on, I get emails and text messages from all over the country. In fact, when I got my vaccination, so I could hopefully get a credit media credential, the gal that came up to give me the shot, I'd never seen, I didn't have who she was. And she said, I know you. I said, well, really? What'd I do? I got to get in trouble for something. She said, no, I watch your program. I see it and I love it. I'm an IndyCar fan. I came here to work for IU Health so I could be in Indianapolis and around the Speedway, which I found very interesting. But I think the neat thing about IndyCar, as opposed to any other series, there's any one of 8 or 10 drivers on any given Sunday can win a race.
Oh, I think it's more than that.
Well, probably.
Really, I think it's twice that. There are favorites, of course, but it is so competitive front to back. We know that almost every driver has a shot of winning a race at the beginning of a race, and that's even before qualifying. Even after qualifying, you can be back in the pack, and we've seen it. They can make their way through the field and have a great result. So, that is the beauty of this. We still hear from folks who think it should be build it and bring it and everything goes. but we really like this racing, and so does Chevy and Honda. So we think we're in a good place.
It's interesting that it is essentially a stock car that everybody has. And I know Scott McLaughlin made the comment about it, but he said these things are really fun to drive. And he's a 3-time supercar champion in New Zealand. And he's into something he's never done. He was on his first oval and scores a podium off of that. Now that isn't something to get people's attention. The quality of the drivers, the quality of the teams, and the quality of the sponsors, I think, are second to none anywhere in any major sport, in my opinion.
Amen.
One thing that disturbed me a little bit, and of course I've been accused of being disturbed, is a lot of people, and I'm one of them, are wondering, why is a Freedom 100 not on the schedule?
Well, we're in a weird time, right? Last year, we have the race without fans. This year, we're limited to 135,000 people. We just said we've got to keep it all simple. The fewer moving parts in May, the better our ability to execute for the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And after all, that's the highest priority. Now, whether or not it comes back remains to be seen. But that's really how we've looked at it last year and this year, that we just don't need to have. I mean, look at Legends Day. We're going to have a virtual drivers meeting. We're not going to be able to do all the autograph sessions. Theoretically, maybe we could have, but we just didn't want to, expose ourselves to operational challenges that could lead to issues which could, in any way, further risk having the 500 in the way we have in mind. So that's basically what's happened so far.
Did I say during your press conference a week or 10 days ago that depending on how the state is doing it, there's a potential to increase the number of fans, move up to 140, 145,000, or did I misunderstand what was said?
I guess that's possible. We're not assuming that at all. We agreed with the city to put 135,000 people in the stands. So that's the plan, and we're distributing tickets. So that is the plan. If things got to a place where a week out we could sell more, then obviously we'd be delighted and we'd do it, but we're not counting on that.
Well, the unfortunate part of the infield being pretty much closed to everybody is the fact that the fans will not get to see what I got to see back last fall when you took me and Roger Ward Jr. on a tour of the place. And what has been done here is absolutely spectacular. The good part of it is, with the grandstands being open, you'll get to see a lot of what's been done. I mean, the Penske organization has completely redone this place. If it didn't move and it was rusty, it was painted. I forget how many thousands of gallons of paint have been put in here. The trash cans at the big disposable can, garbage can things, you won't see them anymore. There's fences around it. All the restrooms have been completely redone. You're going to be astounded when you see that. I mean, what's been done here is going to take people's breath away, but they won't be able to see the entire fixation, the entire chain. But they'll
miss some. But as you said, much of what we're talking about is behind the grandstands off Georgetown Road, and sitting in the grandstands in terms of all those new video boards. And they'll be able to see across the way to the improvements and the bells and whistles we added to the victory podium, and a lot more. So, and by the way, we're trying to move the people who had already bought GA, general admission tickets for the infield, into the grandstands at the same price. So they'll get a different perspective, which will be interesting for them. So it isn't the same, but we're doing all we can to accommodate everybody. And I have no doubt that I can't wait really to see the people who do get to come in, take in the new place. Remember, for the 100th running, we invested a little over $90 million to catch up and improve the place. And then Roger came along last year and put another 17 or so in, and there's more going in right now. So the place has had over $120 million of improvements since 2016, and it's beginning to look like it.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the place looks spectacular. Now, for you personally, when you came in, you were president of Hulman Racing and so forth, and now all of a sudden, a new overseer of the speedway has come in and somebody to take control of it, and your job has completely changed. I got to think 180.
Well, yes and no, right? I mean, they're theoretically, it's the same set of responsibilities. Not theoretically, that's the case, right? It's my job to make sure that we're proud of and growing Indianapolis Motor Speedway and INDYCAR, and that IMS Productions is the best in the world at making all of our events look great for our viewers. It is different. First of all, I get to work every day with Roger Penske, and it's a phenomenal experience. I learn so much every day, and that's really invigorating. We have the ability to make investments when we see something that needs to be done, and the case can be made for it. We don't waste money, but there is capital for something that pencils out. And Roger cares deeply about his people. So our associates here know that they're working for a class act organization and guy. And that's inspiring, even beyond how proud we all were to be working here before Roger. So yeah, no, it's different, but I would say it's not even close. I personally, and I think our team feels like we're in a great place.
And the thing that's always impressed me, a number of the people that I know that attend the meetings say that Roger wants to hear from everybody. You may be selling pencils in a corner somewhere and they're talking about painting a light pole. He'll ask your opinion. He wants to hear from everybody. And I think that, to me, says a lot. That the man may not miss much, but he might miss something, and somebody might pick it up that he hadn't thought of. Or you.
Absolutely. Look, he didn't get where he is without being a great operator and a great leader. And look, he just made an announcement today. I'm not sure when this is the show live. I'm not sure when it airs.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, well, so anyway, fans will know that he's just made a major announcement with Porsche for endurance racing, and it's worldwide news, and he'll do great at that. He has the capacity to take on more and to execute. I don't know how he does it, but it is truly remarkable.
I did see that, and I posted it all over my stuff, so it did come out earlier today, and I saw that. You think the guy's got enough worry with INDYCAR, IMS Productions, keeping this place going, but yet he has the time and the people and the experience to expand.
Yeah, and all of our stuff is a small piece of his business, his whole business empire. So how we get the time that we do is beyond me.
Well, I remember when at the press conference he had when he announced that he was going to purchase the facility, I got up and made a brilliant statement that I had met him in 1950, it was either 55 or 56, outside of Chicago at Meadowdale Raceway. And I was impressed because at the time you could go anywhere. There was no such thing as credential to get in there. You could go in the pit area and I saw his operation. I thought, wow, everybody was clean. The uniforms were pressed. I went up and introduced myself, just shook his hand. I did a television show in Chicago at the time, but it was nothing, just to say hello. And I was really impressed. And I mentioned that to him at that press conference. He said, I don't remember back that far. I said, I don't remember back that far much either, but I do remember seeing you in your operation, and I was not surprised when you moved on.
I had breakfast with Mario Andretti this weekend in Texas, and we talked about a lot of different things, but he had a similar recollection of when Team Penske showed up. And as you know, whether it's the starched uniforms or what have you, he pointed out, shined wheels on the car, maybe chrome. I can't remember if he said that, but he said nobody did that. And it not only was impressive, it was kind of intimidating to the other competitors.
Well, we can't end this conversation without talking about one of the true greats in the sport and one of the real characters in the sport, and the loss of Uncle Bobby Unser. I know I've had him on the program a few years back, 2 or 3 times. In fact, I had he, Al Jr., and Al's dad, Al Sr., and Al was late, Sr. was late. When he finally got there, I introduced him as the late Al Unser Sr. But Bobby was a character. He was an icon. He talked to people. He didn't run away or hide if you wanted an autograph or say hello. And the big thing about him is if you had a question, you better be prepared for an answer because he'd give it to me.
No, he will be missed in every corner of the racing world, certainly ours in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, he didn't need to know me from the man in the moon. I didn't come from a racing background, even though I was an Indianapolis kid and loved his racing and followed him. But he made time for everybody, and he would always, regale you with stories, and it was a joy being around him. I'm just so glad I had the chance to get to know him a little bit.
One of the first years I came here, and I got into the pit area, I figured out watching the cars going in and out of the garage area, if you had a Firestone jacket and a mechanic's rag, you were in. So I found a mechanic's rag, and I bought a jacket, and I went out to the pit area on qualifying day, and he won the pole that day, and they handed him a $100,000 check. Of course, it was a big monster thing. And that just floored me. As he was leaving, I stopped and congratulated him. He stood there and talked to me for a minute or two.
Yeah.
Over the years, whenever I'd see him, he'd always say hello. He'd always say Tuesday nights.
Well, he had a love of life and a love of people that was amazing. You know, I'm not even going to share some of my favorite stories, but
neither am I.
Quite a character.
Yeah, well, you know, the sport has lost some good people in the last year. It's tragically lost them. Sorry to see him go as well, because I know he was probably aiming to get here this year again.
Yeah. Well, the invitation had been sent.
I'm sure it had. Too bad. Well, what's next for you? What can we look forward to going forward? I hear there's a possibility that Toronto could be in trouble, and you may have to run a double header somewhere else. I remember seeing that. I forgot where it might be, but is there any other facility that could cause a problem for the remainder of the year?
I don't think so. I hope not. Canada is more locked down than any part of the U.S. at this point, so there's good reason to wonder about that, and we're in close communication to know what we can know as soon as possible, and to begin to think about. But we haven't made any decisions about what would happen if we can't race in Toronto this year. The rest of the Midwest, the rest of the schedule looks great. Can't wait to get to Nashville. Oh. That's going to be sensational, and in every way. We've had so much anticipation of that. All the sponsors want to be there. People coming out of the woodwork that don't live in Tennessee that want to make sure they don't miss it. And then, we end up on the West Coast with 3 races, and it looks like we should be good there in September. So we're very much hoping that Portland, Monterey, and Long Beach will be a phenomenal crescendo and finale for the 2021 championship.
Well, hopefully by that time California will open and more fans can get in. I was very pleased when St. Petersburg was authorized 20,000 a day, and I think they probably got that Saturday and Sunday. I'm sure Sunday for sure.
California's COVID health metrics are vastly improved. They right now are in a really good place compared to most of the country, which of course hasn't been true for much of the last, during the pandemic. Portland, Oregon, the governor of Oregon has shut things down a little bit again for about the 3rd time. But hopefully that's doing the right things for them that will ensure that we'll be good in September.
Well, I have to thank you for your time. I know you've got things you got to do and take care of, and I appreciate you taking the time. And for me personally, I think what you have added to IMS and INDYCAR and so forth is, as you said, you haven't followed the series all your life. You're an Indianapolis guy, but you have the ability to bring the people in that can do the job, and you've done that. I, fortunately for me, get to interact with a lot of them, And I thank you for that, because you brought some really good people on board.
Well, you're kind as always, Don. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be on the show. And yeah, now it's, we left Texas and said, now it's May. It's time to be in Indianapolis, and we could not be more excited about what the rest of this month's going to bring.
Well, I think it's going to be a good show. I think you're going to have people calling, wanting tickets, or to get the 135,000 shouldn't be a problem. Thanks for your time. Look forward to talking to you around the Speedway. Sometime I'll run across you somewhere. But thanks for your time. And somewhere down the road, you're going to get a phone call from me again later on in the season, see how things are going. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Don. Be well.
My guest has been the president and CEO of Penske Entertainment, Mr. Mark Miles. We have some other guests in line to come up with, so keep us in mind and keep watching. We'll let you know when they're coming on. Until next time, Don K saying thanks for being here. See you next time. Good night.